record. Who is 1584? Is that Ken Dietz? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ken. All right. Okay. So, for the record, show that Donna Hayes, our land use administrator, myself, Lynn Warner, Hillary Clifton, an alternate, Ken Dietz, Brian, must be now, Paul
Brian Neff.
Yagid, Paul Yagid, regular member, and Anthony Palumbo, an alternate. Hi, Anthony.
Hello, how are you?
Are here along with members of the public, Brian, Tim Casey, and John Gleason, right? So the first order of business is that Paul, Ken, Dietz, and I need to elevate Hillary and Anthony to voting status. We know that Marge and Ken Johnson won't be joining us. So just need a motion to do that.
So moved.
And a second. Ken Dietz? Yes.
Seconded.
Yes.
Thanks, Ken. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ken. Any abstention? No? Okay, hang on. Okay, so with that, Hillary and Anthony are now voting members. And we will continue on, okay? Did everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes? Both the regular meeting minutes of February 28th and the special meeting minutes of March 25th. Actually, Donna, I don't think I got. I didn't get the March 5th.
They are, you didn't, because I didn't do them until after I handed you the packet.
Oh, that makes sense.
So they're
I
in
imagine
they're in the meeting folder file. I put them in there today. I mean, we can
Okay.
table them if you want till next meeting. That's fine. I just thought I would get them over with.
Are they very brief? Can you just read them?
Well, I'm not the editor that Marge is, but I did read through them and they seem to be pretty accurate.
Okay. Both sets, Paul?
Yes,
I also,
we'll accept
and I read,
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from February 28th as written.
second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay, great.
Yep,
And
can Hillary
are the mo-
unmute?
are the-
Can Hillary, there you go.
I don't know if I have the feedback still happening, so.
No,
You're good.
Okay.
Okay.
You're good. Are the minutes of March 25th brief enough that they could just be read?
sure. Would you like me to read them?
Sure.
Okay. So it was called to order at 4:05. Commissioners present were Lynn and Paul, staff, myself, property owner Tim Casey, and the forester Jeff Viola. The meeting site walk was to discuss the forestry application 1277-22F. Those present walked to the location of the stream crossing. Mr. Viola explained that he would be installing a temporary bridge over the existing bridge by using concrete blocks at each end, spanning the existing bridge with a platform and installing gravel on both sides. Mr. Yagid asked that hay bales be placed on the uphill side of the crossing. Mr. Viola said that he would like to add a swale on the northeast side of the bridge to make sure that any runoff would miss the temporary bridge. Mr. Viola explained that the logs will not be dragged, but would be transported from the cutting site via a forwarder to the landing area to the west of the stream. With regard to the southern portion of the logging operation, it is anticipated that all cuttings would be taking out via the northern landing. Site walk ended at 4:35.
Thank you. So we just need a motion to approve.
Okay, there are, Donna did put some a bunch of pictures in that showed the landing and showed the crossing as well. And I hope everybody had a chance to look at that. But this, from us being out there, this was the best possible way to remove the logs. They're not being dragged, they're being carted out. It's the only stream crossing that is there, and it's going to be a viable crossing with the bridge that they're going to install. So based on what I saw out there, I make a motion to approve.
Well, actually, we need to do that when we get to it on the agenda. It actually
What's
is
that?
on the agenda.
What you need to do now is approve the minutes.
Oh,
Sorry about
okay.
that.
I thought we were on
I'm
the,
sorry. Still on
getting
the
ahead of
minutes.
myself. Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our site walk on the 25th.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed or abstention? Okay, great. Thanks, Paul. Hang on to that thought.
Yeah.
Okay, first up on the agenda under new business is modification to application 1255-21, Brian Neff. And I guess, Donna, my only question about this, well, I want Brian to walk us through it, but my question is more one of process. This would be considered normally a modification to an existing permit at
Yes.
this stage of the game? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're still constructing the house. They're not anywhere near finishing.
Okay. Okay, Brian, you want to just walk us through a little bit?
Sure.
The information, everybody got
Sure.
a site plan, which is great, thank you.
Yeah, the modification consists of a new electric service to run basically under the middle of the driveway. Service that's there right now is a direct burial cable, not in conduit. So the power company's kind of nervous about looking into something that's there's no protection of the wiring. So the proposal is to run a new conduit under the middle of the driveway up to a new transformer, which is located south of the house. There would be a meter pedestal there with the electric meter on it, and also a generator in the same general vicinity next to the driveway. So it's basically an upgrade of the electrical system, which wasn't really anticipated originally. And part of this is also allowing them to move the driveway a little closer to the house, which would make it actually further from the wetlands and water course that goes parallel to the driveway.
So you're talking this one here, right, Brian?
Yes. So it's going to go right down the middle of the driveway. They're going to abandon the old wire that's there, put new conduit in, new wiring. Again, up to a new meter panel and a transformer, then have a generator in that same vicinity also.
Donna, do you have any thoughts about this?
No, I don't at all, actually. I think it's, I think like Brian said, moving it a little bit, I think is good. I think it's gonna be minimal disturbance. Basically, what's underneath there now, is just the wire. There's no conduit at all.
That's
So they-
right.
They have
no
to do
conduit.
something.
Well, that was kind of an old style installation that was allowed when the house was originally built, but not allowed today.
Okay. Any commissioners have any questions? Paul, Hillary, Anthony, and
No, I think it's something that should be done.
Yeah, I don't really see where the old driveway was, where the new driveway, like, is it really a different spot than
Well,
the
it's the
original?
same general
Okay.
location. It's actually moved away from the wetlands water courses at most about 8 feet.
I don't know if you
Kind of
can,
near the turnaround area where you can drive up. There's like a little hammerhead turnaround. Yeah, right in that area there. It's near that area. The driveway's pushed away from the water course. Just a little bit more, about 8 foot difference.
Okay,
is it gonna be a paved driveway,
Nothing.
Brian? Do you know, or is it gonna stay gravel?
Believe they're gonna pave it.
I just hope they pitch it away.
well, do they plan to do that in terms of runoff, Brian?
Well, the way the grading shows there, it's kind of graded right straight down the driveway. I would imagine that the water would probably sheet off of both sides of the driveway itself. Being paved, it's a little bit less erosion than if it would be just gravel, which would have to be kind of regraded every year. So it's basically generally the same pathway that it is right now, only slightly moving towards the house, just to fit the conduit in and allow for the access to the house itself. So it's not a major change in the location of the driveway. Probably when it's done, you wouldn't even notice it was different.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm
From the
gonna stop
commission?
sharing. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, you good with this? Or are you still looking at the,
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at the driveway and you know, there's nothing else that you could possibly do with it. How steep is that area, Brian?
It's around a 10% grade going up the driveway by the house.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good.
okay? Okay, any other questions? Well, sounds like we are ready to make a motion then. Actually, we can act on an amendment tonight, right, Donna?
Yes.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend application 1255-21 as proposed.
Great, thanks. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Anthony.
Anthony. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstention or, no? Okay, good. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Next, order of business under new business is extension of permit 115017. Timothy and Eve Summerfield. Now, again, can we act on an extension of a permit tonight?
Yes,
Okay. Now, do you have any questions or concerns about this?
I do not. No, this permit was granted when the Summerfields, Eve, I guess was her name at the time. She came before the commission to actually put this in with the understanding that she was going to be selling the house and not actually doing the construction. It was just something that the realtor thought would help with the sale of the property because she was having a hard time selling it. And so ultimately she did sell it. It's now owned by Greg Burnett and Catherine Gatto. And they've been living in the house now for probably, I'm going to say 4 years. And he's saying that, they do want to go ahead and do this garage. It's just that at this point in time, with the cost of the construction material and trying to get somebody in there to do the job, the permit's gonna expire. So he's just looking for an extension of the permit for another 5 years. And then at the same time, we can transfer the name on the permit from Summerfield to Burnett Gatto as the new owners.
Okay,
Would they follow the same things that we agreed upon in the first permit? I'm just like,
Yes.
worried about,
Yeah.
like they have all of the original permit so that they know what they're allowed to do.
Yep. Yeah. If for some reason they decide that, when they talk with the contractor that maybe this is not the right location, or for whatever reason they don't want it there, then they can come in and modify that permit. But they are bound to the conditions of the permit as it stands now until they come in and modify.
And the water course
Okay.
conditions haven't changed much?
No. Mm-mm. He said everything is exactly the same.
okay. So it sounds like we need a motion to act on extension of permit 115017 and to transfer the name from Summerfield to Burnett / Gatto, Gatto.
So moved.
Okay,
Seconded?
any other questions? Anthony, who seconded? Anthony?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstention, opposition? Okay, great. Thank you. Seems pretty straightforward. So now we're going to move on to old business. And Tim Casey's here. And this application 1277-22F is the application that we had the site visit on Friday. And Paul was filling us in on, and I agree with what Paul was saying, it is definitely a preferable landing zone, and it reduces the number of crossings to just that one that we were able to look at. So Paul, I don't know if you're ready to make your case in motion again, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, Donna, you want to share those pictures on screen?
Sure. So this is the original bridge that the property owner uses to access the upper meadow. The logging operation is on the other side of the huge meadow that's up there. You can see Mr. Casey, he was doing a little bit of cleaning out of the leaves because there is a culvert pipe that runs underneath this existing bridge.
Okay, if everybody's looking at that hillside going up, if you look up towards the top left corner, you can see how the road goes up to the meadow that leads up to the area that's going to be logged. That's
Can
the
you show that
only,
picture?
excuse me, Lynn?
I'm sorry. I was just asking if Donna could pull that picture up.
Can you see this one? Because I have,
The only one I see is the one with the culvert being cleaned out.
Yes, that's the one we're talking about right now. And you can see the road up that it's leading up behind that.
Can you see this one?
There you go. Yeah.
So that was the only concern that I think that we really had was water. If there's a heavy rain, water running down, you can't see a bit of erosion there. And that's where we talked about towards the brookside, maybe putting several bales of hay and staking it. But Mr. Viola also stated that he was going to cut a swale across the road that leads off into the brushy area, which would not be disturbed, which is pretty stable. So this way, if there is any runoff, it would get distributed through that back to the brook eventually.
Yeah, but it would be slowed down by all the brush that's already there.
Yes.
just dissipate down the hill.
How
as
big
part
of-
is that bridge? Because just from the pictures, it's hard to tell, and then
That,
wondering.
that
the
bridge
size of the
is
scenery.
at best 8 or 10 feet. The bridge that he'll be putting in, he'll be using concrete, large concrete blocks. They refer to them as mafia blocks. Usually you see them. They would be set on each side of the bridge, and they would support the bridge. And then he would put a gravel ramp leading up to it to cart the logs across. Then once they're finished, the blocks would be removed, the gravel would then be graded back into the road base.
And the picture that you have on the screen, I hope now, is of Paul. And this area in here, Paul had requested that additional hay bales be placed. Because here you can see is the stream coming in. It actually is like a V with water coming in on both sides and then going through the culvert pipe that's here. So to protect that area here, Paul had requested that some of the some hay bales be placed there, which both the forester and the property owner agreed to.
If any of the gravel ends up in the stream, they'll remove it.
Well, that's something to ask Mr. Casey, but I don't think that that would be a problem. With the way he described, you're gonna have the concrete blocks on one side. The only area of concern was where we asked for some additional hay bales. But everything else would be leading and directed, any runoff would be directed away from the brook.
Yeah, and into this, what you're looking at now, the brook, if you were standing right here, the brook would be to your right. This is where the water will be directed to. And then you can see it's just kind of a low brushy area with the woods alongside. It drops off a little bit. So gravel would not likely make it all the way down the hill and back into the brook where the water eventually will go. It might settle out there, but I just don't see it being a major issue unless there's a really significant storm, in which case we'd be aware of it because Don would be checking it out.
I was just thinking about the integrity of the bridge and that potentially causing some fill to go into the stream, but
Oh,
still being a bridge. But I haven't seen plans for a bridge.
Yeah,
So-
that's the whole point. They're portable bridges, what they use, and it's a metal bridge that would be sitting on top of the concrete block. So the existing bridge would not be bearing any weight whatsoever.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Is this that same spot or is this the landing area?
That's the landing area.
It's already cleared.
So this area here is an existing area further down from the brook, closer to the road, which is where the logs would be brought down to and then loaded on trucks to be removed from the property.
Okay. Any other questions about this? Any other information you want to share? I think they were also talking about putting in some tracking from the.
Yeah, doing an anti-tracking pad where it actually comes onto the road, so this way they won't track mud out onto the existing road.
Yeah. Donna, because this comes out onto the little lane there, do they need to also mark? Do they need to put signs on Route 7 talking about logging trucks entering and exiting? I forgot to ask that when we were.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do or not. You know what, Tim, you might want to reach out to the DOT and see what they think.
Okay.
We should also look at our regulations too.
Yeah,
I'm a little, I think the fact that they're actually coming out onto Cobble Lane,
eliminates the need to
Um,
do that, right?
yeah. But it's worth checking our regs. Okay, anything else? Okay, so it sounds like we're ready to act on application 1277-22F.
I'll make a motion to approve application 1277-22F with the addition of adding the siltation, hay bales, where we discussed.
And that water bar, I'm not sure I actually saw that on the site plan, but that was also described. in the
Yeah, Mr. Viola said that he was gonna put some water bars in and cut a swell there, so I guess that should be stated in there as well.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Hillary. And any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye,
All right,
Aye.
opposed? Abstention? Okay, motion carries. So thank you, Tim, and thanks for taking the walk with us as well and explaining what you were going to do. And we'll just check on that one thing, which is the potential requirement for signage, exiting and entering Route 7. And that's it. So thank you very much. Good luck. Is your intention to start right away, as soon as you can, within that 15-day period, after that 15-day period, I mean?
As Jeff said the other day, he's uncertain. I think he's trying to get a crew together, and if he can get a crew together immediately, then he would start immediately. If not, we can't put it out off for the springtime. If he can't get a crew, then he'd do it first thing in the fall. I think that's what
Okay,
he said.
great.
$50 the other day.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks a lot. Bye. All right. And now John Gleason, application 127922. Did we have some outstanding questions on this?
No,
I think they were all answered during the conversation. Let's just see here. I made a note.
what did we say in the minutes?
Okay. Okay, does anybody on the commission have any additional questions for John? And John, your application still stands, no changes?
Correct.
Okay, so it sounds like we're ready to make a motion on application 1279-22. Need a motion?
motion to approve application, what was the number again?
1279-22.
So moved.
Second? Hillary?
I'll
Are you
second it.
seconding?
Yeah.
Thank you. And any other discussion? Comments, questions, concerns? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay. Great. Thank you. Looks like you're good to go, John.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
right along. Under written communications, we have the financials.
Yeah, Barbara's been so busy doing the budget that it hasn't been presented to us, so. Usually when I take it off the agenda, it shows up at 8, so I figured I'm just gonna leave it, and if I need to add it, I'll add it. But we're not
So we don't
really,
have anything,
no,
and there's nothing major you'd want to share with us.
I'm not concerned about anything. You know, we got a lot of money we're gonna be turning back, because I haven't had an assistant, so. I think they might use some of that money to turn the large meeting room into a hybrid, but I'm not sure. So we'll see.
Okay, thanks. All right, and then we also got these permit applications again for
Pesticide applications?
one
Yeah,
pesticide permit applications, yeah, well, yeah.
Yes, I have a
For
problem with that.
which
for
one?
Anderson Acres.
Both of them.
So let's
Okay.
start with the one.
The one on Anderson Acres is the same one we spoke about last time. I don't see any resolution.
No,
there.
that was Amsterdam. That was Amsterdam on Upper Kent Hollow or Anderson Acres or Anderson. No, it was, oh, I have it. Wait a second. Amsterdam is located at 260 Kent Hollow Road.
Okay. And this one on Salts Pond is,
Is over on Anderson Acres Road.
okay. Okay, I confused that, but I'm not familiar with that. But the other one, the pond at South Kent School. Here again, they're saying that they've got a big question mark as to, does it empty into any or affect any water courses below? It obviously does. I mean, all they have to do is look at a map or go out there.
When were these applications put in? I don't recall us talking about pesticides last meeting. I thought we
We
did.
don't. We don't give permits for this. It goes directly to the state. We get copies of them, and then we're given an opportunity to raise questions or point out inaccuracies, which we've done. You know, sometimes somebody will submit an application and say, no, there's no recreational use, when in fact there's a public fishing area and a swimming hole. You know, so we'll make sure that the state has the information that they need. But last week we talked about, and I'm getting a little confused here. We talked about Amsterdam Pond, Kent Hollow Road. Is that the one that you're concerned about, Paul?
Yeah, well, we were concerned about that because they were saying that they felt it didn't affect any users downstream. And in fact, it dumps into the whole headwater area for the Aspetuck River.
Right.
Now, this new one that I'm concerned with is the one from South Kent School. And here again, it's question number 15 on part 6 of the application. Are there any downstream users of the water who may be affected by treatment? They just put a question mark.
I did that
Oh, okay. Thank you.
because they didn't fill it in.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, are you going to answer this or not?
What do we think the answer should be then?
Yes.
So we've got a couple different issues going on here. I don't see the South Kent School on the agenda, so I apologize.
Yeah, that's 40
do
Bulls
see-
Bridge Road. So there's 2 pesticide applications, one for Anderson Acres
Oh, I
Road
see it.
and one for 40
I
Bulls
see.
Bridge.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You-
Somehow my eye went right over that. Okay, so let's talk about both of those, Anderson Acres and the one at Kent School first, and then move on to what, the one in which we asked some questions, but it actually wasn't dealt with, it feels like, effectively. Is that okay? So let's talk about the Bulls Bridge, the South Kent School one. And we're saying that question 15 is not
Yeah.
adequately answered. Is that right?
Right.
I'm looking at the map. Can you just tell me which body of water it is that I'm supposed to be looking at to see if it's connected to others? I mean, there's so many connections here.
Well, the map that they're showing isn't giving you a lot of detail, but are you familiar with Bulls Bridge Road and the South Kent School? There's a
Yes.
pond right out front.
Mm-hmm.
That's the pond they're talking about. So that pond empties out into the outflow from Hatch Pond,
Okay.
which eventually finds its way down to the Housatonic River.
Thank
And
you.
is Hatch Pond, does Hatch Pond have a public access
Yes.
for fishing or boating? Yeah.
Yep.
So we need to point that out, I guess, in the communication to the state. And Donna, I also noticed that in your communication to Karen, I guess you didn't ask her whether or not Dobner had retired.
She
But
has,
it,
and she moved to
Okay.
Maine. And the
Okay.
person that is replacing her is Elizabeth A. Clark. So
okay.
I'll send an email to Elizabeth about this.
Okay. Is there anything else on either of these? Well, is there anything else on 40 Bulls Bridge that we should
I think
be
that's it. My
identifying?
only concern is we don't really know what the effects are further downstream from what they're putting in. And I think that's something the state should be regulating. The only thing that
What
we're
the- what-
seeing that we can question, because we can't deny the permit, that's not in our power.
Right.
But the only thing we
Right.
can question is something like this, will it affect people further downstream?
Yep. Yep, especially people using the pond. I think what they're going to say is that it dissipates after whatever the time frame is, but it would be good to ask them. That's their standard reaction. I don't think they really have much of a. Have you ever seen one of these things denied? No.
Never.
No, they don't really have much of a department determining whether or not this is the best way to do this.
I agree with
You know,
that.
they're basically saying this is the accepted protocol, and as long as the information is correct and they do what they say they're going to do, we'll approve it.
Well, I can't imagine them having the manpower to go in and to go to each of these sites. Just looking at the application, they're so vague on species within the plant and animal species. There's more than just duckweed and algae. And there's a third one, algae, duckweed, and water meal. There.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or that's to be controlled, excuse me.
I think it's worth asking again what the impact is on the other species in the pond and how long the impact lasts and what the impact would be downstream. I mean, that's their job,
Mhm.
theoretically.
Yeah,
To
they
let us
should know
know
the
the answers
chemicals
to those.
better than us.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
pond also falls in the endangered or threatened species.
The natural
So-
database diversity.
Yep.
Is that something to just remind or mention to the state?
No, they have that checked off. So it says request for a NDDB state listed species review form. I think that was supplied with this.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions on this one or concerns?
No, just that, what is the discharge from it going to do downstream? And is that of any concern of ours?
Okay, what about Anderson Acres? Now, which pond is this? Is this the one behind, is this the one where they put the swimming area in?
Yeah,
This the one is, okay.
I think it's that big, remember, it was a fairly good sized pond and then they dug it all out, lined it and made it a little bit bigger. And I guess my question is, you need to check one, and they checked off a 1-year permit and a 3-year permit. So what is it?
Yep,
And I don't think that pond has a natural, I think it has an overflow. I don't think it's constantly running into the West Aspetuck. If I remember correctly, when we went down there that time.
Excuse me, is this 6.A.4?
No, this is 6.8.2. So there's 2 of them in there. Permit application for the use of pesticides in state water, 1 Anderson Acres Road. So that's the salt
Oh,
pond.
okay. Yes, I see that now. Thank you.
yeah,
Do you want me to list
Yeah,
them
it was-
individually? Would it be easier?
or even if you just bulleted them out, maybe,
Okay.
because I skipped right over it too. My eyes just kind of went right over it.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on this one?
I just wish we had a better map of it on both of them.
What is the thing you're most concerned about, Paul? I mean, we kind of know about.
With some of them, like the one over on Both Bridge Road, we're familiar, we can see it, it's visible. You can see where everything is going. This one here, I'm not familiar with, and I would like to see a better map instead of just, a copy of a topo map, which is really not showing us much. If they could do a Google Earth map, that would definitely help us a lot in determining, where the flow of the water is going.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll have to add that because I don't think that the DEP is going to require that of them.
Yeah.
no. It might be worthwhile taking a look, Donna, at a better map and just verifying what we think, which is that it's not a continuous connection there, that there's an overflow. I remember looking through that, the overflow area.
Right. Yeah, it's behind the patio in the back.
Yeah.
And it has to go through a couple of different
A wetland.
swales before it
That's right.
before it hits it. There were kind of like these what do they call them? Oh, I've just lost my mind.
Well, it had native
Like a
plantings through
retention
there.
basin type thing.
Yeah, and they had plantings through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And that was actually a pretty nice job,
Yeah, they did a beautiful job
but
on
you're
that.
right.
I think I have a question, and I don't think we can answer this, or I don't know, pose it, but to the state, like, if you're putting chemicals in for algae and it's warm water, well, yeah, algae is just going to regrow every year. So if you have the nutrients going in, you're just going to get algae every year. Are you just going to keep putting chemicals in there to get rid of the algae, or are we going to try to do some something to prevent the algae instead of treat the algae.
Yeah. I think
Like
that's
if
a really good question.
even if you put like, I don't know where this is, even if you put some kind of circulation in there, like a small,
Aerator?
like aerator or fountain, like something really small, not a huge fountain for aesthetics, but like something small that kept the water moving to circulate it and keep it cool.
They have a waterfall in there. It's on the Lake Warmug side of the pond, taking the water from inside that pond and circulating it out through the waterfall. It's quite large. And then back into the pond again. So they've got some aeration. And then the one side is actually, they put a little beach and they swim in it.
Yeah. Is the surrounding area still just grass? You know, between the house and the pond?
I don't think so. I don't think it's grass. I think that they actually put in a lot of plantings.
Should take a ride over and just.
Here's a
take a look at it.
question. I know around any of the natural lakes, they're requiring, between lawn and water, they're requiring buffer areas now. Is that something that can be applied to ponds as well?
Yes, and that's why I was asking Donna, because I couldn't, when they were putting the pond in, I couldn't remember what they were proposing for the area between the house and the pond, if it was just lawn. And Donna's saying she thinks it was plantings for that as well. We should take a ride. It's easy to see from the road.
Yeah,
Just take a ride and see what they, and maybe we could recommend in direct outreach to the Salsas, that they can, if they haven't planted a buffer, that they consider planting a buffer.
give me 1 second. I might be able to find pictures of Anderson Acres. This is one of the retention ponds that they have for overflow from the pond. And this is in the back. This is the back fence that they put up, and then the West Espetuck is back in here. But this is the
So there's a
holding.
buffer
Yeah.
Right.
Let me see if I have any others.
This is quite a while ago.
Yeah.
That's the pond they wanted?
No.
No.
That's
It's like a little retention area for overflow to catch the
Oh.
water and release it slowly through the ground so that it wouldn't just run right into the swampy area
Okay.
on the other side of the fence. And there are lots of plantings there. I do remember this. It might be worth taking a ride and looking. Just trying to visualize. When we saw it, Donna, it wasn't planted.
no, they hadn't done anything yet. They actually, I think for a while, they weren't really quite sure. Okay, here's another one. Share. Let's see if I. So this is part of the big waterfall that they put in.
That's
And
right.
this is on the north side. So, yeah. So this is the area in the back where the West Aspetuck is, and then the pond comes towards Anderson Acres Road in the front.
Yeah.
And I went up to look at that, but I don't remember. Thought I had
I think
some
it's worth
more.
Yeah, it's worth taking a ride I'm happy to take a ride over and just see what I can see. And I guess the question is, I think it's a good question, Hillary, if they're just gonna keep, maybe there are other things that can be done, like buffers, like plantings, that can reduce the amount of nutrients that's going into that pond.
So this
Yeah.
is what we went to look at in 2014.
Yeah,
So it's a man-made pond.
Yeah, it was a natural pond. And then they did an enormous amount of work. They built a brand new house and the gardens are spectacular. They really are. The woman who did all the planting on the property really did I think, you know, I mean, if I had the money to spend, you know, it's just amazing what she did.
and the emphasis on natives and the emphasis on water protection
Yeah.
was pretty high. But at the time that this pond work was being done, they were contemplating plantings, but I just don't know if they ever put them in. I think it's a great question, and I'd be happy to take a drive by and see what they've got going there.
Is the water
Maybe you could see
constantly
Donna.
flowing there, or is it more seasonal?
I think it's constantly flowing.
I'm
So
not
then
so
how
sure.
much
I think
algae can possibly grow that they want to? I would just like to, I'm kind of interested in like, are they just have a teeny little bit of algae and they're just a little, for aesthetics wise, just don't want any algae in there? Because it's not bad to have a teeny bit of
I don't-
algae in a pond.
I have no idea. That whole area collects a lot of water. I don't know if you remember, and as you come down the road toward the house, Donna, there's that drain right in the middle of the road
Yep.
that takes all the runoff and dumps it into the wetland and the stream, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And what this was part of was trying to control all that, because they're right at the base of the you know, the hillside coming down from Lake Warmaw portion. They're really in a wetland area, and what they were trying to do is manage the water, I think. And I was there a long time ago before they started doing all this stuff, but they had bought the property, and there was just huge amounts of mud coming off the road and the field,
Yeah.
and going right into that drain. It's a mess. I mean, it's a wetland.
Yeah.
They're really in a wetland.
They've done a really good job, I think, of managing the property at this point in time. You know, the woman that, like I said, the woman who did all the landscaping was very in tune with all the natives and she was very delicate with the wetland areas, making sure. Remember, we actually went and walked with the property owner at one
We
point in
walked the whole-
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think they definitely
Definitely
do
trying
want
to
to be
do
good stewards of the property. So,
I had that impression, and they have the ability to be good stewards of the property. So I think all your questions are good. I'm going to check out whether or not they've got plantings between the house and the pond, and take a look at the pond. It's easy enough to see, and see how much algae might be in there. When are they proposing to do this?
let's see. Why do they always hide that in the map? July. So right in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
And they do note it that it's man-made with no flow. That doesn't keep
Okay.
it, just because it's man-made doesn't mean it's not a habitat at this point in time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some questions that I need to ask Elizabeth about both of these applications. I'll send those off.
Okay. And then the response on the Amsterdam pond. Paul, you felt like it maybe was not actually responding to the questions. And I didn't really understand it. I would say yes, hold back after each treatment. And how are they going to make sure that that happens? And also, we didn't really address whether or not this goes into the West Aspetuck River. So I don't know. Paul, what else were you worried about on the response here?
Primarily was that if they were gonna hold it back, you know, I think Donna's letter said it all.
Okay.
But we didn't get a response on that letter, Donna?
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
that's what's attached. So there's my email. I think I attached my email with the questions.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then there's an answer from Karen. The plan provided was very general. I assume a more detailed plan will be developed based on the plants present, the flow conditions and the chemicals used. The application did say it is possible to hold back water if necessary. I would leave it to our permit analyst or the applicator to know what is appropriate. This also looks like a first-time treatment for this site. I can follow up with our permit analyst if you need something specific. I would say yes, hold back after each treatment. And the NDDP letter is good as long as the project has begun before the expiration date. With the variable length permits, we have interpreted this to mean the project is the length of the permit. They do not need to do a new NDDB for the third year unless we put very specific reporting language in the letter, which she didn't.
okay.
So based on her answers, we could send a letter to the applicator and say, based on the response that we received from Karen, we are asking that, yes, you hold back the water after each treatment.
Well, yeah, can we just forward this response along with that? So he's got some documentation on that.
Sure.
But he, I mean, literally they should be requiring that as part of the permit.
I would think so, but I don't think we're
Yeah.
going to get that commitment from them.
Okay. Okay.
I'll put together a letter just saying that the commission reviewed this application. You know, they expressed some concerns regarding the following items. You know, here's the, we did, you know, ask those questions to the Department of, you know, the DEEP. And this is her response. So we are asking to please hold back after each treatment based on her response. And then, you know, go from there.
Be interesting to see if they respond to us.
It will be very interesting. You know, and I'll copy the property owner as well.
Okay, great, good idea. Okay, very good. So we're going to move to the last written communications, which is the notification from Washington about work being done within 500 feet of Kent. And for Anthony and Hillary, this is a requirement, so we would do the same thing. If we got an application that was within 500 feet of another town, we would alert them as well. And I have to say, did not have a chance to look carefully at this. And Donna, I wondered if you saw anything of concern. This, unfortunately, it feels like what they're doing is shoring up the shoreline, hardscaping the shoreline, which is really unfortunate. We worked really hard with the landowners on a stretch of Lake Warmont, to promote natural restoration of a section of lakefront and not, you know, placement of boulders, but a much more natural feel. This feels like a really hard, like, what's he calling it? Bulkhead.
Yeah.
A dock and bulkhead. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the new construction is for a rowing shell dock, a stepping stone stairs, retaining walls, level grass seating area, invasive species removal and plantings. I don't even know if they approved this. They accepted it, and then I think they were hearing it on the 23rd. So. It'll
I
take
guess the only
approximately
response-
3 months.
That's the only response I would have is that we work really hard with landowners to retain as much of a natural wetlands function as possible. And I guess my question is the town of Washington doing that? You drive around the lake and it doesn't seem like they are. So I don't know.
I don't think they are.
Yeah. You know, the enforcement officer over there, Donna?
No, it's somebody new.
Really?
I can call Shelley. She's the land use administrator in the town of Washington. Right.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe based on what she says, it might make sense for us to draft a short letter to the commission. I mean, I don't see a map with this. Did they provide a map and a site plan with this?
Not in the packet that I got.
I wonder if they'd be willing to share that with us.
I can call Paul
Thanks. Who's Paul?
Zemansky.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, because it's coming out of Howland.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or thoughts about this one?
It just doesn't look
Frustrating.
ideal.
Well, like
Yeah.
you said, we've been pushing to try to do things naturally along the lake there. But this doesn't sound like it's very natural at all. Retaining wall.
No.
Leveling of grass or some portion,
Yeah.
depths.
If you look around at some of the other things that have been permitted, it's hard to swallow.
Yeah, it's Candlewood Lake.
That's what it's starting to feel like.
You can definitely
Well, let's
see
get
the
some-
break between New Preston and Kent for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's get some additional information. Maybe we can at least register our
Well,
concerns.
we can express
I have
our
a-
feelings, but we actually have no control over what they do.
Right.
But
Correct.
maybe they'll look at it a little differently if they know how we feel about it.
Right. I think it's almost like we ought to try, you know, it's almost like the last stand for this lake. Anyway, okay. Anything else?
And I'm surprised that Sean Hayden hasn't, he might have. I mean, I really should go out and check to see what their meeting was like and whether or not Sean Hayden had presented anything from the Lake Oremont Task Force. Because he
That's a great
definitely was
idea.
involved with what we were doing on our side of the lake.
That's a great idea. Do you
Yeah.
mind reaching out to him?
Not at all. Okay, I'll check
Okay.
it out. I'll talk
Anything
with-
else?
Nope.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll come back to this at our next meeting. Anything under verbal?
I am going to be out of the office October 26th and returning on Monday, May 2nd. We're doing
What?
our April 26th, which is-
April.
yeah, the day after the next meeting. And then returning on the following Monday, the 2nd. I'm only going to be gone 4 days.
Where are you going?
We're going up to the Cape.
Nice.
Yeah,
Not Mexico for 4 days.
no, no.
I'm sorry, when you first said April 26th, I could have sworn I heard October 26th, back May 2nd. I was like, what?
Ah,
Okay,
would be nice.
very good. Right.
Hey, when's our
All
June
right,
meeting?
very good.
Our
What?
June meeting. I don't know about it.
The 27th? Does that sound right?
It does. I just want to make sure.
I didn't, I don't have my phone.
It's the last Monday in the month, right?
Yes,
It's the 27th.
Okay, I'll be back for that.
You will?
Yeah.
All right. All right, anything else? Okay, so this is a pretty easy meeting in a sense, but thank you all, and thank you, Anthony and Hillary, being part of our voting contingent, and thank you, Ken Dietz, if you're still, oh, there's Ken. Yes,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
And thank you, Ken. Glad you could join us. All right, so we just.
All right, thanks all.
Thank
Yep,
you.
have a good one.
Just
Have
need
a
a
good
motion
night.
to adjourn
Oh, I make a motion to adjourn.
in a second.
Second,
I second.
There we go.
Okay.
thank you. All right, thanks, you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good week, you
Bye.
guys.
All right,
Night.
good night.
Yes.